just take this in. Like, really see if you can feel what I'm saying. It's Paul Levy's words, but they're really powerful. So he says, people who are channeling the vibratory frequency of Watico, which basically is wild ego darkness, they align with each other through psychic resonance to reinforce their unspoken shared agreement. In other words, we all agree to be separate from God. So they all agree to be separate from God so as to uphold their deranged view of society. Well, just take that in. People who are channeling the vibratory frequency of Watico, fear, align with each other through psychic resonance. It's a vibratory resonance that goes out to reinforce their unspoken shared agreement so as to uphold their deranged view of reality. And we're seeing this, the division. And the same would apply to those that are choosing love and peace and joy and sovereignty and pro-choice and everything else. They also send out a vibratory frequency, a resonance that finds other like-minded people that bind together. They knit together and form groups and communities. So that's what's going on. He says, once unconscious content takes possession. Unconscious content, guys, you know what that is, right? It's that root chakra. It is, in the unconscious are all the implants of the program that make up your matrix, your personal world. And then together you can see collectively, you can see the collective world, which is just, a whole bunch of yous with the same thought system, and you're all agreeing. So once the unconscious content, so you're not aware of it, you haven't raised darkness to light, it remains unconscious, and that's dangerous. And that's alien thinking. It takes possession of certain individuals. It irresistibly draws them together by mutual attraction and knits them into groups, tied together by their shared madness that can easily swell into an avalanche of insanity. Well, there, look at that. Look at the world. As they say, it won't be long if we don't wake up and stand in our sovereignty. We'll all be wearing a yellow star. This is a psychic epidemic. It's a closed system, which is to say that it is insular and not open to any new information. Bam. Light is all-inclusive. Light and love is acknowledgement and openness, open-minded, open heart. Okay, it's not making anything wrong because it knows if that person is coming at them with an untruth, they know it's not real. Light knows darkness is not real. But the psychic epidemic, which is happening now, is a closed system, which is to say that it's insular and it's not open to any new information or informing influences from the outside world, which contradict its fixed, limited, and limiting perspective. The next, when you talk to someone who is not open to your opinion or to an idea, that's Watico at its finest. So now you tell me. It's insane. It is a psychic epidemic, and that's what Watico does. It's like the unconscious content of the mind, that which you have not raised into the light and forgiven, given up to the spirit. because you're so identified with the body, so identified with the story, with the timeline, and every little implant that has come down from lifetimes of separation are still there in you. And we are seeing the madness of a collective projection of these implants in the unconscious. And they are called puppet masters, because when you're not conscious of the darkness, you are controllable. And it's just so sneaky, the ego, the puppet master of Watico, because it twists laws of God. It twists everything, and you become so confused. That's its job, is to confuse you so that you don't know right from wrong, because you're not following your conscience. You don't know good from bad. Look at the world. You don't know up from down. I mean, it's insane. I think even with our gender things going on, I don't know, I read something the other day that there's now how many new gender, like 87, some like, and people are like, okay, there is such mass confusion because of Wetiko, this psychic epidemic that is a closed system, and it's designed to do that so that nobody wakes up and the world stays in darkness. Oh my God. So then he says, anyone challenging this shared reality is seen as a threat and demonized. Now, isn't that happening? It's like, well, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. Well, you're demonized. You're seen as a threat. We got to shut you up. We got to shut you up. It's an impenetrable field, like a protective bubble. And it's collectively conjured up around their shared psychosis that literally resists consciousness and perpetuates the spell-like trance of those in its thrall. Ooh, he has such a great way with words. He says there's no talking rationally. How about that? Maybe you're in a household and there is this division in your home and there's no talking rationally. That's Watico at its finest. So there's no talking rationally, using logic or facts with someone under the spell of the psychic epidemic. You can't talk rationally. You can't present things because they're under a spell. They're in a trance. Their ability to reason and to use discernment. Remember that word? Sai Baba also told us discernment, the 5 Ds. So the ability to reason and to use discernment, that it has been disabled and distorted in service to the psychic pathogen. That's the pathogen, guys, which they carry. That is the pathogen. When a group of people are in agreement about anything, whether it is true or not, their alignment with each other exerts a contagious magnetic field of force, which can sway the unaware and attract them to itself. Be careful of what you think. Ideas leave not their source. Every thought has power behind it. Every thought. We are on guard, even paranoid, regarding contagious diseases of the body. Well, yeah, that's true. Look around. But we are woefully asleep and unconcerned about, and hence more susceptible to catch the more dangerous collective diseases of the mind, which are reaching tandem proportions in our world today. And we're seeing the manifestation of that called, right? People taken over by Watico, by the Watico virus, usually don't suspect a thing about how they have been conned, or more accurately, how they have conned themselves. Now, you talk to people who have gone against their conscience, you know what I'm saying? They have conned themselves into believing that it's okay. And now they have this deep-rooted anger, which they will then project on you. Because Watico does that. It's clever. It's sinister. It's insatiable. It wants members. And the puppet masters that live underground, which are your own implant thoughts of darkness and fear and guilt and lifetimes of whatever shenanigans that you believe, we're seeing them as images, people, systems in this matrix. So we con ourselves into believing it's okay because, you know what? I want to go shopping in Dubai. It's okay. I want to go here. It's okay. Oh, no, well, I just want to get on Turkish Airlines and go wherever you want to go. It's okay. So I'll just con myself into believing that I'm going to be convenient. I'm going to be made comfortable. And listen, when you give up your freedom, Watico doesn't give it back. Just know that. When you give up your sovereignty, Watico's, oh yeah, it's got you in its clever clutches. Do you think it's going to give it back to you? No, you're going to have to fight. The Watico culture offers no incentive for these people to self-reflect. Nothing to reflect. Just turn on Netflix. Give me a beer. Oh, I can win a lottery for that? Good. Awesome. I need the money. All of this deepens their psychosis. When someone is a full-blown, unrecognized Watico, in other words, they have no clue, they're sleeping, the field around them torques so as to protect, collude, and feed into their psychosis in a way that entrances those around them. Similar to how an octopus squirts black ink in order to hide a psychic field, gets conjured up around full-blown Watico, which is so evil. Once you're under the Watico spell, you will lose your capacity to recognize the Watico pathology in other people, because you're a private mind now, right? I'm a private mind, and this is my world, and I get to do what I want. Not recognizing that other person that's a Watico psychotic person is also believing they're a private mind with a private body. But you will think they don't have the right to be anything. It's a pathology. In a situation of group narcissism, Watico at different stages of the disease assume particular posture roles relative to each other that protect and shield themselves. You see, attack and defense. It's a closed system, guys. And I think that was said in The Matrix, the movie. Watch The Matrix again. Do you remember that one scene? I have that so vivid in my mind, where Neo was standing with Morpheus and there was this sexy lady walking down the street in her red dress. And they were looking at her and Morpheus said, "It's a matrix, Neo. It's not real." Wow. So they shield themselves. When you're possessed by Watico, you don't want to hear what anybody else has to say. You're in your own matrix of insanity. And you feed and reinforce others' narcissism because it enhances yours. So other people that are in your group that are also doing the same thing, oh, you lift them up too, and everybody gets to be in a psychotic cesspool of fear and all of that. And here's the joke, none of it's real, but they believe it is. Do you believe it's real? People or groups who have fallen asleep are under the thrall of the psychic epidemic and are then unconsciously dreaming. So we have different kinds of dreams. We have the conscious dream, that I'm aware that I'm dreaming and I know it's a dream. I'm awake in the dream. Or I have a nighttime dream, and even in my nighttime dreams, it could be a lucid dream where I'm aware that I'm dreaming. And then we have unconscious dreams. You have no clue. That's Watico at its finest. That is your implants, your memory implants from lifetimes of being addicted to the body, all coming up and projecting out and joining with other people who agree with you. And everyone's asleep. So he says, psychic epidemic are then unconsciously dreaming, and they're acting out. They're unconscious in fully embodied form. So what we're seeing in the world is a projection of the implants in the unconscious mind of every single person. We're seeing it collectively as images on our screen, the collective screen and our individual screen, and we call it real. So we're seeing the unconscious in fully embodied form in contrast to being awake. Well, the type of person ripe for falling prey to this Watico infection is usually one whose strings are pulled and manipulated by others. Do you let other people tell you? Are you being lived through by a puppet master telling you? Are you staying in relationships because there's a puppet master in your unconscious that says for better, for worse, forever, no matter what? Who's your puppet master? If your strings can be pulled and manipulated by others, then you have fallen prey to Watico. And then you will follow a life path dictated by others and unaccustomed. It's because you're unaccustomed to think for yourself. Oh, he'll take care of me. They will take care of me. Oh, when I retire, I'll have a paycheck. I'll get money from the big G, not God, not like G with a... No, it'll be coming from, you believe that someone out there is going to take care of you. Well, what if there's no money left? Now what? Now what are you going to do? Kill yourself? This is like where the rubber meets the road now. This is like crunch time. You become prey to Watico when you're not in touch with your inner guidance. Because you've given all your power away and let everybody tell you where to go, what to do, and what to say. And how to act and how to dress. Not sovereign. You're not in touch with your inner guidance. So what do? You project your authority outside of yourself. Oh my God. And then you become very suggestible to the agreed upon consensus opinion of the dominant pack. So that's why, we travel in packs. Our vibe attracts our tribe. So what do? If you're with Watico, then everybody in your pack has a gun, ready to shoot those that are not in your pack. If you're standing in the light, you might be in groups of light. You're not interested in shooting anybody because you know none of that exists. And then you can be used by God to serve. And maybe you have to go to a protest. I don't know. Maybe you have to, put something on Facebook. Maybe you have to tell somebody no. And you're not used to saying no because you have had a puppet master. This is big. When we give our power away, there's always someone bearing the authority of the state who is more than happy to accept our offering, and they're not going to give it back willingly. No. Have you ever, I talk to a lot of people in one-on-ones, and they'll say, they'll be in maybe not a good marriage. And the woman will say to me, when I got married and my man was my everything. So what did she do? She made him her authority. She gave him this and here, have my power and do this. In other words, she didn't think for herself. She didn't have any opinions. It was like, oh, good, I can just sit back here. I can just lay back and my husband's going to take care of me. Well, it's the same thing. He willingly took it. Yay. Well, yeah, it's rightfully mine. It was really difficult when you woke up, wasn't it, wife? Or even husband, we could reverse it. And suddenly wanted your power back. Do you think that spouse was willingly wanting to give you your power back? No. Willingly wanting to give you your freedom? No. And that's across the board. So when you give your power to anybody, any system, you're controllable, you're owned. But it was just really convenient, wasn't it? Not to think for yourself. Well, that was really convenient. Not to rock the boat. How about that one? No, let's just all stay quiet. I don't, because of being passive. Do you think that the Holy Spirit is passive? Look at Segment. Are you kidding? Don't you dare come near my cub. Don't you dare, in the name of truth, stand back. One focus. Truth is true, and only truth is true. Oh man, so Watico, once it gets in, wow. So this state, whatever that state is to you, if you're controllable, is happy to accept your offering, feeding the insatiable will to power of the shadow, the unconscious, which becomes collectively mobilized. Masses are veritable breeding grounds for psychic epidemics. That is the epidemic that's happening on our planet. It is an epidemic of the mind. It is a pandemic. It is a virus that is so threatening. It's so threatening because we've made it so real. And because we're afraid to stand up for our rights, for our sovereignty, because we want to get on that plane and we want to travel and we want to, go to the mall, and we want to go shopping and we want to this and we don't want to be inconvenient. We're willing to bend and give our power and save our body, which doesn't exist anyway, rather than our soul as sovereign beings that offers you everything. I mean, come on. Can you feel my passion today? I feel so strong with this passion in my heart, soul, mind, body to share this with you. I can't shut up. It's like, oh, I can't shut up. So he says, through using individuals as its instruments, evil needs the unconscious. And Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, you have yet to raise the unconscious darkness into the light because you're protecting it, because you're afraid of what somebody will think of you. You're afraid that if someone found out you had 3 abortions, they would think, ew, you're just a no good loser. Or if you had, 2 affairs, that you were like all these things, the shame and everything that we carry. And so you hide all that and you push it down, and it's energy. It's just energy that's gone underground. And now you're a puppet, and you're puppet masters. You're controllable because you haven't faced your shame or your darkness or whatever it is that, which doesn't exist anyway, but you haven't raised it to the light and forgiven it by giving it to a spirit, to the spirit, the higher power in you. And so as long as we don't do that, this is the result. This is what we're seeing. It's all, and you know, Baba says, yes, there will be peace on earth, but purification is necessary first. Purification of the unconscious mind. The implants, the memory implants, they have to be purified. They have to be raised to the level of light. And what we're doing is not raising them, we're projecting them. Ew, I don't want to look at my darkness. Okay, you do that. Now we have Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, you know, bad governments, this, that, people that are just, you know, that's the result of not looking at your darkness, pushing it down, keeping those implants there. And only the Christ in you, or the Buddha, whatever you call your I am presence that's in you, has the power and the grace and the love and the everything to help you overcome and become what God made you to be: sovereign, strong, being the living will of God as love, for love in this world. So these individuals that are possessed, through using individuals as its instruments, evil needs the unconscious masses. Evil needs you to go to sleep because the ego is a death wish. It wants you to fall asleep. That's what death is, being asleep to your superconscious mind. And it uses this, let me read that again. Through using individuals as its instruments, evil needs the unconscious masses for its genesis and proliferation on the world stage. It needs to feed on your unconscious that you're not aware of, that you're not looking at. And either you're willingly not looking at it, you're aware that it's there, but it's like, yeah, well, who cares, you know, whatever. Or you just aren't even aware that it's there because you're still in the realm of blaming someone for your upset. When you're triggered, you're still blaming, you see. So then he says, in a collective psychosis, people literally stop thinking for themselves and let other people think for them. Just let everybody think for you. Like sheep, he says, who just follow wherever they are being led, even if it's off the nearest cliff. Look at the state of our world. We are on the edge of the cliff, having given all our power. Losing touch with their own discernment ability for critical thinking. The mass man becomes part of the mindless herd and falls prey to group think. Well, they're doing it. See, that's what they said. See, the CDC said, and the WA, they said, without even looking at anything else. No, I have a closed thought system. I don't look at anything else because I'm psychotic. Psychotic people don't look at anything. They're living in their own delusion. Wake up. We have to wake up. So the group think whose members codependently, well, what do you think? Well, I think it's good. Oh, okay, then I think it's good too. Well, what do you want? Well, I want it to be true so I can travel. Okay, me too. Let's go. And then you both go and the pilot crashes the plane. I mean, that's where it's heading. So we fall prey to this groupthink whose members codependently enable each other to uphold their shared version of the Watico world. He says, perception management, largely through the corporate mainstream media, convinces a critical mass of people of a particular viewpoint. Oh yes, the news, north, east, west, and south, we get the same thing. And we don't look into anything else. And the perception management is so awesome. Watico uses that mainstream media to convince the critical mass of people of a particular viewpoint, and there is a consensus or agreement that is reached among the masses as to what is objectively true. Well, guess what? Objective and subjective are the same. What you think is what you see, because ideas leave not their source. Jesus is telling us the external world is the same as your internal world. So what you're seeing is a reflection of your implants in the unconscious mind. Oh my goodness. Like a religious truth, it is irrationally believed, like an act of faith, by its card-carrying members. And we're all going to be having a card, or a number, or a tattoo, or maybe a gold star. By its card-carrying members, even if overwhelming evidence points to the contrary. But that's okay. We are psychotic because we are listening to the puppet masters that live in the basement, your own unconscious programming. You've given your power away to your husband, to your wife, to your kids, to whatever. You're not sovereign of God. You don't even care about God. You don't care about anything else except your money in the bank, your big car in the driveway, your corporation, your this, your that. Because you want comfort, you want convenience. Don't rock my world. And you're willing to give up peace on earth for a car or someone telling you how to think. Anyone who doesn't buy into the arbitrarily established story, the narrative, is marginalized and demonized. And they call you either crazy, a conspiracy theorist, or even a terrorist. In other words, you're either with us, the Watico group, or you're with the enemy. This was so profound. I've read that book, I went back through it, and I saw this, and I said, oh, this just says it like it is. It just says it like it is.